Imagine paying $30,000 or $40,000 upfront for a solar system, and then finding out years later that you still don't actually own the equipment. And then if you decide not to buy it out later, then you start paying annual fees just to keep using it. Now, this is the reality behind some of the new prepaid solar lease structures that are starting to appear in the market. Now, salespeople often explain that these deals are like this. Just prepay for your solar today, and in 6 years, the system becomes yours for free. That's the only way for you to still claim the solar tax credit. You have to do a prepaid lease. But when you actually read the contracts, the situation is much, much more complicated than that. So today, we are going to break down the prepaid solar leases, which are different than normal solar leases. And then we will go through the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because just like traditional solar leases, the financing structure can completely change the economics of solar. Oh, and before I forget, if you enjoyed this video today, make sure to be kind and click on that subscribe button. Now let's get to it. So a prepaid solar lease is basically a variation of a power purchase agreement. Instead of paying for a monthly payment for the electricity, the homeowner pays a large amount upfront. That upfront payment is supposed to cover the electricity the system will produce for several years. But here's the critical point. You still do not own the solar system, they just attach it to your roof. The solar company owns it, and it's not even the installer that sold you the system, but the company leasing the system to you. So even though the homeowner might be paying tens of thousands of dollars up front, they are still technically buying electricity, not buying the solar system itself. So now let's talk about the 6-year claim everybody seems to get stuck on. This is where a lot of confusion begins. Many salespeople explain these agreements by saying something like this. In 6 years, the system becomes yours, or that the leasing company will transfer the ownership to you at a dollar transaction so that it's yours technically. But when you actually read the contract, this is not what it says. Instead, ownership may transfer if a fair market value calculation lines up with the remaining prepaid energy value. I know it gets so confusing, and I am so mad because why are we making buying solar so freaking complicated where the salesperson nor the homeowner knows what they are signing in the 52-page contract? So the leasing company compares the remaining value of the prepaid electricity to the fair market value of the solar system. Now, if the numbers line up, the system can then transfer to the homeowner either positive or negative value for one or the other. But notice something important. The contract does not simply say you automatically own the system after 6 years. It depends on the calculation, and that calculation depends completely on the leasing companies, not yours. So you're essentially prepaying for a solar system, and then you might have to pay some more for it again in 6 years. I mean, when I explain it that way, would you actually sign that contract? So what happens if you don't buy out the system after 6 years? This is another detail that is often missed in the sales conversation, is that what happens after 6 years if the system is not purchased. So in the example contract that I reviewed, the homeowner would begin paying annual service fee of around $740 per year to continue using the system. Now, this is based on the system size bought. Actually, not even bought, but leased. So the idea that the system becomes free after year 6 is entirely not accurate yet again. If the ownership does not transfer, then the system is not purchased. You may start paying ongoing annual fees just to keep the agreement active. And that's something that homeowners absolutely need to understand before signing. Now, sometimes I actually think that even the salespeople selling these prepaid leases aren't trained on it, and they don't even know what they are selling, or they just don't have a problem lying to homeowners and putting them in a really bad financial situation. Now, another important factor we have to talk about is what happens if you want to sell your house. So if the system is still under the prepaid lease agreement, contract must be transferred to the homeowner. Now, this is based again on the one that I reviewed. This means that the buyer must agree to this this new contract, the buyer must sign this agreement as well, and the buyer must accept the same obligations. And if the buyer does not want to take over the agreement, well, that eliminates your buyer. So it can complicate the sale of the home. This is actually one of the same issues we see with traditional solar leases. Buyers often hesitate to take over long-term solar contracts, not to mention the fact that real estate agents basically hate us for it. Another question many homeowners don't realize they should ask is, what happens to the warranties if you buy the system later? Because when the leasing company owns the system, they are responsible for monitoring and the service of it. And again, a keyword here is the leasing company, not the installer who sold and installed you the system. So if I sold it to you, I'm not responsible for service. The leasing company is. So if you have issues with the system, you're supposed to call the leasing company, again, not the installer. So if you buy out the lease, what kind of warranties are you really left with? Another important issue with any leasing structure is the tax credit. So the salespeople, again, will tell you that because there's no more residential solar tax credit, you can still claim the tax credit under the commercial ITC, and that tax credit is claimed by the commercial entity and not you. So some of those savings could be potentially passed down to the customer in the form of a lower cost, but in reality, in order for the big businesses and corporations to actually qualify for the commercial tax credit, they have to use product that is approved by IRS. Now that means either domestic content, so more expensive product, or FEOC compliant product, FEOC product. Again, that product is also expensive to begin with. So yeah, let's pay more for the system so we can get a discount on it. It really frustrates me, as you can probably tell. But now let's step back for a second. So imagine that you have the cash available. Instead of entering into a prepaid lease, you either buy the system outright, or if you don't have the cash, you just get a simple loan for it. So if a typical system costs around $2.10 per watt, a 20 kilowatt system might cost around $42,000. Now, when you buy the system, again, you own the equipment, there are no long-term electricity contracts, and you don't have to transfer agreements when selling your house. And once the system is paid off, the electricity it produces is essentially free forever for the life of the system. This is why many solar professionals, actual professionals, believe that if a homeowner has the financial ability to buy the system, ownership provides the simplest and most transparent structure. And if you don't have the cash, getting a loan is still, in many cases, better than doing leases. Again, if you have good credit and you're good with money. But here's my honest truth, in my opinion. And what's often is really sad is that the solar companies that offer those types of TPO, third-party ownership structures, often target homeowners who should not be going solar to begin with. Solar is great, but it has to make financial sense. And I know a lot of salespeople will say that homeowners in lower income households do deserve solar too. And I don't know if I would agree with that. That signing someone with a lease agreement that benefits mostly the corporation and the solar installer is actually a good financial decision for those homeowners. Please write in the comments if you completely, or if you just a little bit disagree with me, or counter say what your thoughts are. Now, to be very frank with you, I'm actually very tired of people calling my company here in Dallas, Texas, and asking, how can I get out of this lease agreement? Because they're trying to sell their home, or they were sold something that's actually more expensive than their electricity bill. This happens more often than you realize. If someone has offered you a prepaid lease recently or whenever, I would love to hear about it. Drop your experience down in the comments below, and you can also email me as well. I will make sure to leave my contact information in the description below. Now, if you want to do something nice for someone today, you could definitely subscribe to my channel. It helps me tremendously. Thank you so much for doing it. Let me know your thoughts down below. I am super passionately angry with solar leases, so I'm really curious if you agree or not. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.